Hello everyone, this is the East Coast Economic Update for September the 3rd, 2009. There's so much stuff going on that I'm actually following notes. So I just want to go over some very important things because I think for the next 30 to 45 days it's going to be a bumpy ride, and I don't think I'm going to be even able to give you information as fast as it's going to happen. Part of the reason, and we'll get to that, is it's going to be deja vu all over again. So I'm going to go down my list. First, China has completely, of course, as you know, everything will be in my info box. I'm going to not point because a couple people yelled at me. So everything's going to be in my info box, but China completely stopped buying bonds officially. Actually, they probably stopped buying bonds probably in May, and that's my best guess. But nobody will ever know unless you become the inner circle of the party, the Chinese Communist Party. They stopped buying bonds openly, and they have started to buy IMF bonds openly. An interesting thing, though, which you guys all know my feelings on Glenn Beck. I think he's a shill. But even if he is a tool of the government or the powers that be, or however you want to put it, he did point out something which is information that maybe the government wants you to know. I'm also going to have that video posted in my info box, which basically shows openly that even the mainstream media is pointing out, well, Glenn Beck is pointing out, that the United States government is buying, the Fed is buying the treasuries, and they're being handed back from such great institutions like Goldman Sachs, Freddie and Fannie, and the rest. Check it out. Today, gold hit $900.80 an ounce. Now, I don't know if you guys know My Space Secrets. He's a Australian guy. I believe his name is John as well. A great fellow. He did a video, I'd say about a month ago, also going to be in my info box, about how there was this pincer move. Technically speaking, it's a very boring video, but it's very accurate. Talking about how the head and shoulders pattern of gold is pointing towards it breaking $1,000 an ounce and staying there and going way beyond it. There is a good chance it may reverse, but I don't think it's going to, and neither does he. Which brings me to my friend the German guy, also a great channel, will be located, of course. He stated back in, I think, April or March, that once gold broke through 1,025, it would go hyperbolic. It would hit right to 2,000. And he also pointed out that once that happened, hyperinflation, Weimar German hyperinflation, would be right behind it or not too far behind it. So these are things that I think you need to keep an eye out. Keep watching those bonds, as I've said in many, many months. This is where it's coming. This is now we're in the midst. The winds are picking up, and the rain is coming, and the tide is rising, to use that hurricane analogy. Keep an eye on those bonds. Watch those treasuries, and search for China. Do what I always do: is I Google search China and U.S. Treasury bonds, and it always comes up. So, which brings me to the next thing: unemployment. Tomorrow is why I'm doing the video today, because I don't know what's going to happen, and I would like to try to see if I'm right based on my prediction. I'm going to adjust this camera real quick. Excuse me. Thanks. We have two indicators. ADP is way higher. It's almost 300 or 325,000 jobs were taken off of commercial payrolls, and that was higher than most analysts, quote unquote, shills, thought that they were going to be. And also the government numbers were way higher, almost near 600,000 people have been applying for unemployment. Now, the part that they don't tell you is that by next week, by the 15th of September, we are going to have 1.5 million people off unemployment rolls completely. You know, there's been cash for clunkers. There's been bailouts for the big banks and for AIG, but nobody has thought about, let's keep extending unemployment benefits until these poor people find a job. So my thought here, my prediction, my guess is probably a better word for it, is that the unemployment rate is going to, at the best, top out around 9.5. At the worst, it's either going to stay pat, stay around 9.4% unemployment, or maybe even drop down to 9.3, which will be another big green shoots rally in the midst of all this. So keep an eye out for it, because you're adding what could be about 700,000 people onto the rolls, but you've already lost nearly 1.1 to 1.2 million people off the rolls, and obviously the net effect is going to be either stay pat or drop. If it does drop, don't be surprised if the Dow Jones hits 9,600 points tomorrow. If it stays at 9.4 or goes up to 9.5, will either stay flat or drop. So that's that. Bank foreclosures. The German guy, who I will have his video up, it was for the October one, that he actually put it up today, said that there's, and I've heard this from another economist as well, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, that 200 to 2,000 banks are underwater, that are ready to collapse. Now, this is totally a gut thing. It's based on nothing that I know. But let's look at this real quick. I have a prediction to make, and let's see if I'm right or wrong. And it's totally off my gut. We have a 3-day weekend, started off by a abbreviated Dow Jones. It's probably going to be stopping around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on Friday. I have a feeling, since we have a 3-day weekend and half of the people are not going to be listening to Bloomberg on their radios as they're leaving Wall Street, they're going to probably be trying to get the last ditch efforts to get a suntan or whatever. I'm predicting, and I won't know until Sunday, that between 10 and 20 banks are going to fail, and that's what the FDIC is going to announce. It's just a feeling I have. It's a gut feeling. Partially because I see the possibility for them to slip it under the rug, so when people come back on Tuesday, it will be buried deep on the Bloomberg terminal where nobody would really notice it. Especially if the unemployment rate drops to 9.3, definitely. So that's my guess. It's not a prediction per se, it's just a guess, so that goes with that. But that's my gut feeling. Which brings me finally to what I refer to as watch the skies. The German guy, my friend, who I don't know his first name, I'm so sorry, and that's why I keep calling him the German guy, said that he thinks that he honestly believes that the big crash is going to happen in October, not September, although there are many of us, me included, thinking that it will at least show a big leg down in September. And here's where my theory comes from, and it's based nothing on science whatsoever. I want to show you 2 Jewish calendars. You know, we follow an annual calendar, a Gregorian calendar, but it's interesting how the lunar calendar works. I'm really a big fan of how the moon affects what's going on. I'm not into astrology per se, but I do believe that God has put, and pardon me if I've offended, but I believe God put symbols and signs, signposts for us to know what's going on. Last year, in 2008, Rosh Hashanah came late, but Yom Kippur fell on October the 8th and 9th, if you can see this, sorry about this, of October. And of course, the dates changed from year to year because of the lunar calendar. On Yom Kippur the 9th, the stock market fell 777 points in one day. And actually, it started the big drop that everybody complained about, which was post, sorry about the bell, which was post the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Now, there are no mistakes, there's no accidents in the universe, as I believe. This year, Yom Kippur falls on Monday the 28th of September. And that's my guess. I think the next big multi-digit drop, significant multi-digit drop, is going to fall on what I refer to as now Black Monday, September 28th, 2009. Now, it's totally a guess, just going off of, the belief that, God knows all things. So that's my guess, and this is the closest you're going to get to me giving you a prediction. So there you go. So my 2 predictions, my 2 guesses is one, that tomorrow, especially if the unemployment rate drops to 9.3, you're going to see 10 to 20 banks collapse, and the next big leg down, the multi-digit leg down, is going to be on September the 28th, 2009. Kol Nidre. Yom Kippur. All right, guys. See you later. Peace.